I think actors are pretty damaged people who are a little neurotic. And as I was saying earlier, I don't feel I feel quite happy with my lot.
Don't need analysts like so many actors.
No. This is the bit I like. He becomes a monster.
Anthony Hopkins as the grotesque newspaper owner Lambert Le Roux, a role which in the last year has brought him many of the top London stage awards. The play is Pravda at the National Theatre. Since it opened in May, every performance has been a sellout. Queues wait for returned tickets. For Tony Hopkins, it's been a triumphant homecoming to Britain.
That's Hitler's mouth. I had a grandfather, my father's father was a pretty extraordinary man, very forceful personality. And he used to do things to frighten me, like they do with kids, you know, he'd go, oh. So I based a bit of that on him. And that's what Lambert Le Roux is. I mean, that's what I hopefully present on stage and seems to have done.
A composite of all childhood horrors, it seems.
Yes. Now, it's a bit like Bela Lugosi. And then inside there, if it comes out, it's even more frightening.
Time to get it on.
You've been
twisted your tie again.
Give me a hell of a life.
You deserve it. All those women at your feet.
Tired.
Oh, the eyebrows are a little... nasty, nasty.
And this Lambert Le Roux. Hello, Julie.
Go away. I hate it. Go away.
Which way's the stage?
That way.
For 10 years, until 1984, Tony Hopkins lived in America. He established himself as one of the top film actors in the world, one of the biggest box office attractions. It was a good life, but the good life palled.
Hollywood is not anything about money, it's about prestige and what your box office rating is. And if your box office rating isn't good, you don't get invited to the #1 parties. Now, if you take that seriously, you can end up in the loony bin. So you learn not to take it seriously. And people do take it seriously, and they they either go mad or hit the drugs because they can't cope with it. So I'm glad I thought, well, I mustn't take it too seriously. But I wouldn't have missed any of it. It's very seductive. It's almost like an insect-eating plant, and before you know it, you get really seduced by it, and then you end up years later not having wasted your life. What is attractive about it, however, is that it's an easy lifestyle. It's the weather is glorious. You can't take yourself too seriously over there, and that's something I wanted to do. I went over and I learned, I hope, a trick of not taking myself too seriously in this business. And I think if there's anything I've inherited from or taken from California, is that it's all a great game. And that's what I love about acting. I enjoy, because it's a game. I mean, it's better than working for a living. And that's why I do it. I don't know what else I could do, really.
Tony Hopkins is back home for good. He's based himself in London, bought a fashionable house in Belgravia. Britain, its prohibitive taxes and all, has beaten off the challenge of a Californian lifestyle.
I lived a very simple life out there, I believe it or not. I didn't socialise much. I didn't know any of the Britons out there, the Brits as they call them. I met Michael Caine a few times, but I was very much on my own. And I enjoyed it that way. The only friends we had out there, real close friends, were Sybil Jordan, who's Richard Burton's first wife. And we got to know each other very well. And, a few of them, Roddy McDowell, and... But we didn't socialise that much with actors. We didn't go to many of the functions. I went to one of the Oscar Awards, and that was mayhem. But the only thing to do about those things is to go in there and know the rules of the game before you go in. That is to enjoy it, not take it seriously.
Why London, then? Is this where you would choose to live, of all the places?
Yes, I love the weather here. Well, it's my home, really. I mean, Wales is is where I was born, but Britain is my home. I'm a Briton. I come from this country, so my roots are here.
Early morning on the banks of the Thames sees Tony Hopkins on location. He's not only been appearing at the National Theatre, he's been making films too.
The advantage about doing film is that if it's a bad film, you can forget it, and you get on with your life. But if you're in a bad play or a bad production on stage, you've got to go on night after night in the face of bad criticism, bad notices, and bored audiences. But the one thing about the theatre is that it does stretch and challenge you. And you must be half mad to go on stage in the first place. But I love the challenge of it. I love the match with the audience, It's gladiatorial. It's going into an arena.
Cut! How's that? Print, one more.
A huge team of technicians share this private moment from the film. Tony Hopkins with his girlfriend. There's even a man there to keep the seagulls in place. The set is organised chaos.
No, it's not frustrating. Get used to it.
How do you keep your concentration?
Your relaxation. Not taking it too seriously. It's the only way to do it.
But all these aeroplanes coming
Well, that's
down.
part of life, and you can't shout at airplanes or the weather. That's the way it is,
Is this a normal morning's film? Really,
Yeah,
for an
this
actor
is
like
quite
you?
normal. Yeah, on filming, yes, this is quite normal. This is very much part of the course. It's you go weather, especially in this country. In California, it's always sunny most of the time. But here, it's very changeable. And you get all the sound and noise and all that, but you get used to it. It's easy.
I don't wish you were back there in California on a day like this.
Yeah, on days like this, yes, but it's nice being back here.
He's great. What can I say? He's got a lot of time for people. And he's a wonderful actor. It's great to be able to work with him. I'm really enjoying this.
Don't you have to say it's great, really?
No,
Yeah.
no, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Well, I don't feel I have to anyway. But he's got, like I said, he's got a lot of time. He's very helpful and he's very funny.
You're much more relaxed now than you would have been, what, a few years
10 years ago, yeah, I've been very intense setting up the furniture. No, I'm much more relaxed right now. It's a lot of fun. But and especially with a script like this, when you're doing a film script, if you're well cast, the secret, I'm not the director, but I think the director's good secret, that's that he's got, is to cast well and cast very close to the body. No acting is required then.
Next scene.
Film can help you to get very lazy. Well, I love film. I have great respect for the film camera and for film, the medium of film. But the theatre does pull out more muscle from you.
He's turned some great kind of corner recently. And he was wonderful. When I worked with him before, it was about 12 years ago, he was tremendous. But he's kind of become the arrow. And he loses himself in the act. And all you see is, you don't see where it comes from. You don't see what it is. All you see is him hitting. He's just become the arrow. He just steps onto a different speed of train than everybody else is traveling on. And whether he's tired or whether he's rested or what the hell, he can still do that whenever he chooses. I suspect he doesn't know when it's going to happen. He just sort of does it. Up there or wherever is good for you.
Over the last 10 years, Tony Hopkins has changed his lifestyle. He's become an actor with a philosophy.
It's all about choice. Our lives are about choice. We make our own hell or we make our own heaven. We make our own paradise and we make our own hell on earth. And we can destroy our own lives. And anyway.
Was that inside a flash on your part? Or was
Yes, about some years ago, 10 years ago, I had one flash when I was in California. But they're all getting flashes out in California. I was living out there at the time, and I suddenly woke up and thought, actually, my life, I better do something about my life and get on with it instead of wasting my time with it. And really enjoy it. And I've enjoyed it ever since.
Suddenly your life changed?
Yeah. And I get my off moments, and things, but I think by and large, well, just get on with it, Have trust that everything is okay. Deep down underneath, everything is okay.
Is that when drink went by the board? And
yeah. Yes, I got rid of that because I couldn't fool around with that stuff anymore. Because that wasn't doing me much good. But no, just general quality of life. I thought, wow.
You went through a phase which could almost be described as, what, self-destructive?
Yes. Well, I just liked the old sauce a bit too much. But, I had some fun with it. And I think it's marvellous if you can have a drink and enjoy it. But unfortunately, I couldn't do that. And rather abused it. So I thought, well, I better stop. Because it's like having a car. And if you get a nice new car, and you pour sand into the petrol tank and, slash the tyres, you're not going to go very far. So I thought, well, I've got one body, and I better stop messing about it.
Margam Abbey, in the steel town of Port Talbot, where Tony Hopkins was brought up. He played here as a child. It's a place of memories.
So I used to come here as a little kid, and all this beautiful woods, and this abbey. It's one of the most beautiful churches in South Wales. 40-odd years later, I'm still coming back here. This was paradise. It was beautiful, and this was so much a part of my childhood.
Tony Hopkins was a boy here during the Second World War. In the months leading up to the D-Day invasion, hundreds of American soldiers were billeted in the area. It was his first contact with the United States.
I remember my mother and father, we were going up one of the side roads here, and two soldiers were looking for a bus stop. They wanted to go to Swansea. They said, could they hire a horse? I said to my father. So my mother took pity on them. She said, would you like to come and have some tea with us on Sunday? And they did. They were both killed, in fact. Lieutenant Cooney and Captain Durr. They were both killed in the Ardennes. And I always remember my first taste of chewing gum and the food parcels that we used to get, during the war. It haunts me in a way. And I don't know why. Well, I suppose it does because it's deeply imprinted on my subconscious mind as a child. I was a bit lonely, yes. I think that's why I became an actor. I didn't know what was the matter with me. I just didn't have any friends at all. I didn't bother with anyone. I used to play up one end of the street, they played down the other. I have no regrets. That was the way it was, I was a bit shy, I think. And I suppose that's why I stumbled into this silly business of acting, because I lived in my own little world. I used to come here picking bluebells in the spring. Bit camp, but it was lovely. I loved this area. I still have dreams about it. In fact, I'm going to be buried here when I eventually have had enough of this mortal coil. Yes, I've got a plot here somewhere. I'm going to work that out with the vicar.
So this will be you forevermore?
So I'll be here forevermore under the earth somewhere. This was, I don't know if you know, this is the Dr. Isaac, who brought me into the world. Donald Isaac. This man here was Dr. Phillips. Ex umbrum in lucem, from darkness into light.
For 6 months, Tony Hopkins worked in the steel industry, an industry built on the sand dunes and fields where he played as a child. Steel brought jobs, but it hasn't done much for the Port Talbot he remembers. Today, the Abbey Works, not the Abbey Church, dominate the town.
Unfortunately, the Abbey Works and the Steel Company of Wales have destroyed most of Margam. I have a funny relationship with the Port Talbot. I'm always coming back here. This is Talbot. And my father had a baker shop here. This is the Mount, the old Mount. This used to be the Vivian Turton Works on the left here. And I'm just coming up past my father's shop. You'll just see it's a flash. The shop that is now Annabelle's used to be a fish and chip shop. The shop next door to it, the red one, was my father's shop. All closed, all deserted. Richard Burton worked here in the co-op, just on this side, the co-op.
You never met them?
Richard Burton?
Yes,
I met him in New York. Strange enough, after 20 years, I met him in New York in the same dressing room. He took over from me in Equus in New York, in the same theatre. And that's where we met. It was in the dressing room that I occupied. And I remember as we got together in the dressing room, we said, good Lord, 20 years and 3,000 miles later, and here we are. It was an odd meeting. He seemed to be a very nice man. I think it's very sad that he died.
You didn't talk about the old days back here in Port Talbot, did you?
He did. He talked about it. He said, Ty Bar, good Lord. He said, where was your father's shop? I said, opposite the co-op where you worked. And we knew some of the people that he knew. And that was it.
His childhood wasn't an entirely happy one. The root of the trouble was his time at school. Education was not something Tony Hopkins enjoyed.
I hated school. I was offered some good education, but I misused it. I just didn't know what they were talking about. I went to school, a place called Gross School, which is just up over the hill there. Well, it was there. It's buried under the motorway now. And there's nothing there. They've destroyed everything, which is tragic. It's a beautiful little village, and this little village school, and I used to go there. And I was hopeless. I didn't know what they were talking about. And I remember it was like the road to Damascus when I discovered what 2 and 2 made 4. Such a revelation, but I was already by then 2 years behind all the other kids. And I remember in Bible class once, Miss Thomas, she was talking about the Good Samaritan or something, and I remember saying, 2 and 2 make 4 in the middle of the Bible class. She said, yes, that's right, give him a nod. I was a bit simple-minded, I think. I was just a slow developer. I was a slow coach.
When you come back here and you see people you knew from your childhood, when you talk to them, what do they make of the fact that you've become an actor? What do they think of acting as a job, if you like?
I say, still acting, I do. when I come back, I still come out, they're still acting, are you? They pay you for that, do they? I say, yeah. I saw you in bed with that girl the other day on television. They pay you to do that, do they? I don't think they really take it seriously, which is very good. It keeps my feet on the ground, you know.
It's not a real job, is it, in their eyes?
No, it's not really a real job. It's acting, it's not really. But I'm very pleased with it. I mean, I enjoy doing it. It is better than working for a living. You know, it keeps me off the streets, keeps me out of trouble.
By acclamation almost, a newspaper editor, so in the end, presents the award to a newspaper owner, because in Pravda, at the National Theatre, Anthony Hopkins plays the lethal Lambert Le Roux, a newspaper owner. His performance of naked power on the rampage is both brilliant and mesmeric.
His performance in Pravda has brought much critical acclaim. The Variety Club voted him Best Stage Actor. Here in December, he receives the Observer Award for Outstanding Achievement on the Stage.
Thank you. It's a very pleasant surprise, also very odd. I've never been in competition with a theatre before. No, I'm not supposed to say thank you, but thank you, Howard and David. And congratulations to all the winners of the Olivier Awards. And it's wonderful to see Lord Olivier here tonight.
An award at the Olivier ceremony is fitting. Lord Olivier auditioned the young Tony Hopkins at a critical stage in his career.
I only had one audition piece, and that was Othello, which he was already doing, and to much and great acclaim. And he asked me, what audition piece are you going to do? I said, Othello. Othello? He said, you've got a bloody nerve, haven't you? And just before I was going to start, he said, ask somebody for a cigarette. He said, I'm terribly nervous in case you're going to be better than I am. That's what he said. Anyway, at the end of the audition, he said, well, I don't think I'll lose any sleep tonight. He said, but you can join the company. So I spent a couple of years under his direction there. And I see him now and again, and great actor, great actor. Had a great deal of influence on me.
The best?
Yeah, I think a gigantic actor of an old school, the Edmund Kean school, I think. Some people don't find that kind of acting, find it's rather unfashionable to like that sort of acting anymore. I don't know why, but I love the virtuoso scale of his work. That's right, I admire his courage.
Right.
At almost 50, Tony Hopkins has unquestionably made it. On both sides of the Atlantic, on both stage and screen, he's at the top of his profession. The lonely boy from Port Talbot, who learned his acting at the Cardiff College of Music and Drama back in the late 50s, has come a long way. To many, becoming an international star might seem achievement enough, but he's got no thoughts of quitting.
So how are you today?
Me, I'm fine.
All my ambitions, my dreams come true. I hope to have another good 20 years, 25 years in me as an actor. And I hope I have the grace to, and the good manners to move aside when it's my time, you know, and not to try to hog center stage. But I hope I've got some good years of being a sort of strong leading actor.
Some people say Tony Hopkins not really very Welsh. Would you say you were very Welsh?
Well, I don't play rugby. I hated rugby. I don't drink beer. And I don't, I've never played in any, you know, I've never done under milk wood. But I suppose I'm as Welsh as I will ever be. I'm not a Great Cardiff Arms Park, you know, I'm not a rugby fan. So I suppose that doesn't make me very Welsh. I remember with Ray Smith and Les Roberts once, a friend of mine. Les is dead now, and Ray's pretty much alive. But we were standing in the pub once and they were in London and they were talking about the match. And Les said, "You going to the match tomorrow?" And Ray said, "Yes." I said, "What match is that?" He said, "What the hell do you mean, what match is that?" "England and Wales, man. What sort of a Welshman are you?" And they were very hurt. But that's the way it is.
Is there something about being Welsh that helps one become a great actor?
A great actor? I think one of the necessary ingredients of being an actor, being a good actor, you've got to have a bit of talent, I suppose. But you have to be very angry. And I'm very, very angry. And I don't know what I'm angry at, but I've got a deep seat of anger and rage in me. And I don't know where it comes from, because my life is, I'm quite happy, and I'm an easygoing fellow. I don't want to... But when I'm working, I feel a deep, deep, violent rage. I always have done all my life. But I don't know what that's about, and I don't try to examine it. It's just, I transform it into energy. And if you get a part like Pravda, the part I'm playing in Pravda, or in King Lear, which I'm going to do next year, and I've got enough volcanic rage in me. I don't know where or why it is, but I transform it into energy. And thank God I do, because I could have become a criminal, maybe. But so I'm an actor, so I can channel it into creative work or into interpretative work.
What's it like coming back?
Well, I always come back.
Tony Hopkins often returns to look at the house where he was brought up. He's never gone inside. Sometimes the locals criticise the films he makes, like Hollywood Wives. Does it bother him?
No, I did that for a reason. I did it because it was a way of getting over to America, because I had to go and sell my house there. And I thought I'd do it for fun, for a bit of money. And I think it's good to do something like that. I like that kind of junk, you know. I think it's a good, healthy, to have a little bit of that, of some nonsense, And it's very watchable nonsense. It's like Dynasty and Dallas. They're rubbish, but they're entertaining, and that's what it's all about. I think a lot of actors forget, for example, and directors especially forget, and actors forget that Shakespeare and the Greek tragedies, that's all they were initially, an entertainment. But you can't have a diet of classics all the time, or a diet of heavy stuff, because you grow stale, and part of you dies. You have to have some fun, and even if it's bad fun, something wicked about doing Hollywood Wives. I had a wonderful time doing it.
I'm sure you did. Is there one moment, though, you might have said that was my greatest as an actor, one performance?
Hollywood Wives?
What, be it Pravda, or be it Pierre in War and Peace, or
Yes,
or
I enjoyed
Keane?
Pierre. Yes, Pierre was a lovely part to play. I had a wonderful time doing that. Keane was terrific. The Bounty, I enjoyed playing Bligh. I suppose I'm partly fatalist. I believe that I'm a mystic, anyway. I believe in mystical influences and forces that to run our lives in a way. I've come to believe that over the last 10 years.
In what way have you been influenced, then?
Well, I think there's some much grander scale of planning than there is in our puny little finite minds. We mess everything up because, I do. Human beings, we tend to want to fix everything and organize everything, when I think there is some vast divine mind which runs it all anyway.
talking about God, really. I suppose I'm talking about mystical religion. For example, there was a very strange thing when I was doing Bly in the Bounty. One Saturday morning, I was pretty angry because I couldn't get in touch with the producer. He was away. And there'd been some problems on the film. We hadn't started filming, but they'd been doing some rewriting on it, which wasn't good enough. And I couldn't get hold of anyone, and I was so angry about this. And my wife said, well, you know, there's nothing you can do until Monday. You know, forget it. I said, I won't forget it. So I'm pretty impetuous. And I walked out of the flat, and it was down in Arlington Street in London. I walked out of the flat about 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought, I'm going to go for a very brisk walk, and you know, then I'll come back and have a cup of coffee. And I walked, and I was steaming up about this. I thought, right, I'll show them. And I walked very briskly over Lambeth Bridge, and because I do walk a lot. And I came to a church there, just over Lambeth Bridge, near Lambeth Palace. And I looked, and there was a tomb. William Bly and his family were buried there. I started to laugh. I looked again, and I went closer to it, and there it was. Captain William Bly. The man I was playing. And I started to laugh because it was so silly and so funny and so peculiar. Overawed, I was overawed, really. So I said to the tomb, I said, well, Bill, wherever you are, we're having problems with the film, so help us out. And I went back to the flat and I felt much better. I really felt much better. And my wife, as I got in, she said, Bernie Williams, the producer, just phoned. Don't worry about those rewrites. Scrap them. Forget them. I thought, well, there you are. Now, that, of course, is coincidence, but I read into it, Jung used to call it synchronicity, or call it a miracle of some kind. Those little things, and there have been lots of those things in my life. So I believe that this isn't the real reality as we see it. This is all an illusion, a dream, just a part of a deeper, vaster reality. And scientists and physicists have been telling us that for many, many years now, that all this, including us, we're just masses of energy. Nothing is solid. I mean, this is solid. I mean, you hurt your head on if you fall against a piece of stone. But it's just a mass of atoms, tremendous energy. What one of the visionary physicists call it, they call it condensed light. We're just condensed light. All these bodies that lie under here, these remains, that this is just one part of a process. When at the moment when our hearts stop and that's the end of this segment of our existence, then some new form of energy takes over.
So what do you hope out of it when you're, buried here in this churchyard at the end of your 3
Well, that's
score
just
years
a piece
and
of
tens?
no, that's just a shell that's put down there for some reason. I don't know what it all means, but I mean they got to get rid of it somehow. And I believe there's just another state of existence. I don't know what it is, but in a form of energy.